Commission meeting of Monday, October 30th to order. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Charlichek is excused. Commissioner Tlako?
Here.
Commissioner Meyer?
Here.
Commissioner Hancher?
Here.
Commissioner Bach?
Here.
Commissioner Parrish?
Here.
Commissioner Schneider?
Here.
Commissioner Gebhardt?
Here.
And Commissioner Nervin.
Here. First up is approval of the minutes from October 10th. Motion in a second. Any comments or questions or corrections? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the minutes are approved. Next up, we have a discussion and possible action items. First is a request for a reassignment of $1.5 million of undesignated cash reserves to one-time capital projects. Who wants to take this one? Give us a quick overview for the people watching.
Go ahead.
Mr. Boyd?
Yep. Is this on?
No.
Okay. There we go. So last year about this time, we approved the reassignment or the policy to allow us to reassign the funds. So this year, as part of the budgeting process, we reviewed the excess cash on hand, and then taking into account balances within the existing capital accounts, we came up with this assignment of the disbursement of the undesignated funds.
Thank you. So some of us weren't here last year. We voted to create the financial policy to use to transfer these funds, or set a cap on how much undesignated fund balance we keep, how much like we do with the city. It's a little different for the water utility because it's solely funded by user rates. But this is an estimate, well, it's a conservative estimate of how much we can transfer to that account. It's actually a sign that the water utility is pretty darn healthy, which wasn't always the case. So it's nice to be able to have this conversation. Are there any questions on that item? Commissioner Meyer.
This was accumulated what length of time? Over what length of time?
Since the beginning, the inception of the water utility, since the inception of the water utility. So in the beginning, the funds were very tight, and we really didn't have any excess funds. But over the last few years, with the addition of new customers, we've been able to, amass the excess funds.
So it's not a concern, it's just a little comment to the fact that, we in the common council, at times we have budget discussions and that, and then we do have used some of that reserve to offset, any type of increases that might happen and hopefully that, since it's been accumulated in the last couple of years, or last few years inside of it, it seems that, maybe a harder look should be taking a look at the rate of that, passing on some of those savings to the customer instead of accumulating the cash and then using it. It's almost the same thing, but to take a look at giving our customers some savings when it goes along, when they take a look at stuff into the future for it. It's always nice to have an extra reserve, but kind of from the old school where, if you're having that much reserves, you might be overcharging a little bit with some stuff, or it could be from cost savings from doing things too, but still passing that on to the customer or ratepayers.
That's certainly one thing we could choose to do with the next year. We do have a long list of capital project needs too, so I think that's more in line with what they're thinking at this moment. But we should have the discussion to figure out what we need versus, to make sure we're not charging too much. But we don't want to let that list sit there unworked on forever. Otherwise, we'll maybe have a conversation like we'll have about sewer in a little bit. It's up at some point, which we don't want to find ourselves in that situation either. But yeah, it's definitely a good problem to have. Any other comments or motion, perhaps?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, why don't we call the roll? It's
Commissioner Tlako?
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Hancher?
Aye.
Commissioner Bach?
Aye.
Commissioner Parrish?
Aye.
Commissioner Schneider?
Aye.
Commissioner Gebhardt?
Aye.
Commissioner Nervin.
Aye. That item is approved. Building right on top of that is the adoption of fiscal year 2024 Mequon water utility budget. Are there any questions, or does someone want to, anything answered about what they read, or a brief overview? Hearing and seeing none, we can always entertain a motion too.
I move to approve the 2024 water budget.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any last comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, why don't we also call the roll on that item?
Commissioner Chalaco? Commissioner Meyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Hancher?
Aye.
Commissioner Bach?
Aye.
Commissioner Parrish?
Aye.
Commissioner Schneider?
Aye.
Commissioner Gebhardt?
Aye.
Commissioner Nervin?
Aye. And the budget's approved. Halfway there for tonight. Next, we have authorization to purchase 250 water meters and associated appurtenances in an amount not to exceed $80,000. For the commissioners who weren't here last time we bought water meters, why doesn't Mr. Wood give us a quick overview of what we do with these on a year-over-year basis?
Sure. The Public Service Commission requires water utilities to maintain their cash registers, for lack of a better term. All those water meters out there are measuring the volume of water that each customer purchases. So as a part of that, the Public Service Commission requires once every 20 years, they want the meter to be either tested or replaced. So the water utility, Mequon Water Utility, chooses to replace those water meters with brand new. And that we did a study back in 2018 where we looked at the meters that we installed over time, since the inception of the water utility in 1998, and it came up with a rate at which we should be replacing them in order to stay current with our replacement cycle. And right now we're in a cycle where we're at about 250 meters per year that we're replacing to stay on schedule.
Thank you. Commissioner Bach.
Just a quick question, just from my own knowledge. How do you read those meters? Is it like the electric company where you come around and it's computerized, or is that, how does that work?
Yeah, we obviously, the water utility was started by We Energies. And at the time, We Energies had a meter reading system that was sold by Itron, and it's just a radio drive-by system. And so each home has a radio on top of the meter in the basement, or we extend a wire up to the rafters if the house sits back from the road a little far. And then we just drive by with a computer and an antenna in the van or the truck and just drive the utility. It takes about a day and a half, and then we'll get a list of meters that either we didn't get a reading on, and so we do what we call cleanup, where we go and catch the ones that didn't get the first time.
Right, thank you.
Commissioner Schneider.
I just have an associated question. So I know these are on a cycle and it takes a long time to get through the whole community. And eventually we're going to be migrating to this AMI system. Am I understanding that we're having that on the capital needs now because we've changed out sufficient numbers of these meters so that it would be worth changing to a new system? I think some of the meters can, or most of them can go on either system, the radio system or the AMI system, if I'm not mistaken. But could we, in fact, now, given what we have, switch over to AMI?
So you're right. About 3 generations of radios ago, they were migratable, is what they refer to that as, where you can start off with a radio drive-by, and then at the point in time that you decide to transition to a fixed-base network, you can transition those radios to a fixed-base network. What's interesting is technology is always marching forward, and the radio, or the meter reading company Itron, is now transitioning to what they call the Internet of Things, where instead of having like 1 or 2 radios that exist throughout the community and collect all these readings, they're now looking at using Wi-Fi and things of that nature. So I'm not, it's kind of in transition. I'm not exactly sure whether or not the radios that we purchase will transition to that technology. We're still kind of, the jury's still out on that. So.
The technology is certainly changing faster than we replace water meters.
Yes.
Commissioner Gebhardt.
What's the replacement cycle? Is it 20 years? You said, is that what it is, 20-year
Yeah, so So the meters themselves, the PSC wants us to change the actual measurement chamber once every 20 years. And the radios are designed that the batteries last 20 years. We haven't had very many failures. We've had a few failures, where the battery fails early, but not very many. Basically every reading cycle we're getting, 99+% of the readings back. So.
And for those meters that we use for the sewer utility for non-water customers, there is a replacement rate based on meter size as well. Perhaps not surprisingly, the bigger meters go faster, so have a quicker replacement cycle than the smaller meters.
Thank you.
Any other questions on water meters? Or a possible motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further conversation? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Tlaco,
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Hancher,
Aye.
Commissioner Bach,
Aye.
Commissioner Parrish,
Aye.
Commissioner Schneider,
Aye.
Commissioner Gebhardt,
Aye.
and Commissioner Nervin.
Aye. Lastly, we have the authorization of the Mequon water utility to exceed $25,000 for purchases and/or services from Core and Main, Aetna Supply, Brunel, Mid-City, MJ Construction, and Rosegut to complete project as needed during the fiscal year 2024. Why don't we give a brief statement on this? It's kind of a complex item, but I'm sure we'll get a good explanation.
Sure. So to follow the city's purchasing requirement where we have vendors that we're going to spend more than $25,000, we want to receive the pre-approval. In the case of the majority of these vendors, we aren't sure whether or not we're going to spend more than $25,000. A lot of these vendors are emergency, contractors where if we have like a water main break on Port Road at 2 o'clock in the morning, I've got to get a hold of somebody. And it really depends on who answers the phone and is willing to get me a crew if they aren't busy somewhere else. So we came up with this list of 6 contractors that fall into that category that in case of an emergency, if we need to, if you have like 3 or 4 repairs, you could get over $25,000 with one of these contractors. So we just wanted to make sure that we were getting pre-approval for any of these contractors to go over that dollar amount.
And to Jim's point, we follow all other procurement requirements. So for any purchases at the various thresholds where we have to get multiple quotes and things like that, we continue to do so. This is really a situation where often it's the combination of several smaller jobs that just accumulate to go over $25,000. If we had any single purchase or service that went over 25, it would still be ratified as a part of that contract award.
Everyone understand? Commissioner, the alternative is we can have emergency meetings at 3 in the morning on water main breaks to approve it going over 25,000.
And we did use some historical analysis to come up with this list.
Yeah. Commissioner Meyer.
Since prices are going up, and I'm sure maybe at some point here, we should take a look at that policy and raise that 25,000. If it's consistent overly, or doing that, or raise that. Potentially with something, some type of analysis where this is okay normally throughout the year, we're doing X amount of days, and maybe we get some higher level that they don't have to keep coming back at.
The 25,000 is consistent for all things city, not just the water utilities. So,
Right.
But yeah, it's been 25,000 for as long as I can remember. I wouldn't know when the last time it was that was different because it predated me.
Me too.
You might want to take a look at the fact of raising it a little bit.
That's a good suggestion, and it would probably be warranted across the board. Any other comments on this? Or a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion in the second. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, please say aye if you're in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're not spending the money, we're just authorizing the ability to spend it. Okay. I didn't hear any nays. Any nays? We did. We did, yeah, we did. Who motioned and seconded for the record? Perfect. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.